this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have a layout chair for you. I've been participating in a number of challenges in September, and I am looking forward to showing you what I've created. The main challenge that I've been participating in is Scraptember. Scraptember is a Facebook group, and each year during September, they publish a list of prompts on their Facebook page, and it's a prompt a day, and the prompts are very wide open to interpretation. You could do a lot with the prompts that they provide. I really like challenges that are one prompt a day, and I feel it really gets me to create a lot. So this first layout is for the prompt scrap lift, and I scrap lifted a layout by my scrapbook friend Yvette Weber. I have been following her on Instagram for a very long time, and I just love her layouts. So I made my layout very close to her layout. I used the Bella Boulevard, I think it's an illustrated Faith She Blooms collection. I love this collection. I love the colors in it. I feel very inspired to use this collection. So I had a lot of inspiration, and I used cut files, and so did she, and I used these flower die cuts similar to what she had in her layout. I also put some white gesso behind the photo, and since I did that, I've been doing that quite a bit. I like that technique. And ripped the paper as I saw in Yvette's layout, and I thought that hers was a great model to copy from, so I was really happy to be able to scrap lift one of her layouts. The prompt for this one is single photo. For this one, I used very old, like most of my collections, I use a lot of old stash. How old something is really doesn't impact me. I like my older but favorite collections. This one is the My Mind's Eye. I think it's Hello Gorgeous, and I just love the colors in this one. And I just took some acrylic paint and I painted 4 patches of paint or large lines of paint using the colors that are in the collection. And I use this banner die cut. I use some die cuts from the collection. I use some floral die cuts, and this is a button. And then you could also see that I use some texture paste in the background over those lines that I painted. This layout was a grid design, so I knew I wanted to do a fall layout, so I used some stitching to divide the paper into 4 parts. I used a leaf stencil on the background with some texture paste, and then I went in there with the colors in K & Company collection, and I just love the way they included blue in this fall collection. I just think that blue adds so much to the fall colors, and I just used some embellishments I had in my stash. These are from Michael's. I got those in a clearance bin a long time ago. This is I believe this is a metal piece, and I used some waxes to make it look a little older and match in with the colors. And these are Martha Stewart leaves. I sprinkled those around the page, and that's about it. The prompt for this one was selfie, so I used this photo of my daughter. I don't have a color printer at home. I shouldn't say that. I have a color printer, but I don't have ink for it on hand, and I always get my pictures printed. I send them out to get printed, so I don't print pictures. I didn't have a selfie of myself, so I was able to find this picture of my daughter, and this was from several years ago when she was still in that stage where she was taking a lot of selfies, and I just thought this was a cute picture. I used some acrylic black paint to make stripes in the background, some stamping, some watercolor sprays, and these are Bella Boulevard puffy stickers from a while back. And I used a die cut, and I just wrote selfie over the top, and I put that heart, which I believe that's also Bella Boulevard, and you could see some stamping. The prompt for this one was grab 5, and they did post on the Facebook group which 5 items that they wanted you to use, but I guess I either didn't know or I got started before I saw those, something like that. So I just grabbed my own 5 items, and I used these puffy these are puffy stars. I used rhinestones. I used wood veneer. I used some pattern paper, and I used mixed media. And for these circles, I used a paper towel roll, and I used the same stamp that I used on the previous layout. And I just had fun with this one. This is also that Illustrated Faith collection, these stripes right there. And these papers over here are from an old basic grade collection. This layout, like the previous 2 layouts, I'm going to be having process videos for these. It takes me a long time to edit the footage, and now that I'm back to work, it's taking me a little longer, but I'm also going to have a process video for this one. This was made using a cut file that I put texture paste over, and then the cut file wasn't usable after I used it, but then I sprayed it with different colors of spray and added my little photos. I just had little photos for this one that I wanted to add. And this one came together really quickly. Once I had the texture paste down, and then I put the different color sprays on them, I just layered this paper on top, the white paper and this blue paper on top, and then it came together super quickly. The prompt for this one was white base. So I used some of my smooth white 120-pound cardstock. I coated it with gesso, and then I was playing around with, I have some Dr. P.H. Martin watercolors. They are in like little dropper bottles, and the color is very concentrated and intense, and I was kind of playing around with it, and I didn't really like it. I kind of tossed it aside, and then whatever else I was doing, I wasn't liking that either, so I brought it back again, and then I just started layering the colors on top till they were more vivid. And there's not much to this layout. It's just the photo and the painting, which took the most time. I used this sprinkles stencil with some texture paste and some older letters. I found these little cherries and these little ice cream cones in my collection. The prompt for this one was rainbow, and I just started back to work on the 14th, and I've been struggling a little bit with working all day and then coming home and making a layout. So for this one, I found a Vicky Bouton collection that I had, and I hadn't cut into it yet, and I had no idea what I was going to do, but I cut out the hearts, and then once I cut out the hearts, the layout just started to come together. And I layered the hearts. There's a heart that I didn't use a punch, I just cut them out, and then I punched these littler hearts out using another sheet of the heart paper so that I had all the same colors. And I didn't put the exact color on top of the exact color. I kept them within the colors. Like these are all blue, but I mixed the colors of blue just to get a little bit more interest in there. And then when I was done, I felt like it wasn't quite right, so that's when I added the enamel dots, and I feel like that's what really brought the page together. And everything that's on here is from that Vicky Bouton. All the papers, this background paper, these papers here, the butterflies, all of it. It's all the Vicky Bouton collection. The prompt for this one is diagonal. So I use the Maggie Holmes confetti collection, which turns out to be my most used Maggie Holmes collection. I, like many people, have collected a lot of the Maggie Holmes papers and embellishments, but this is the collection that I really use the most. And for this one, I went a little crazy, and I put a lot of sprays in the background, watercolor sprays. I use that same sprinkles stencil in the background, and all of the embellishments are the Maggie Holmes. Once I had the mixed media and I had the diagonal in there with this paper, it was really just a matter of adding the embellishments around, and I just played around with that for a while. And this was for day 10. This prompt was hexagons, and I use a Simple Stories collection that I had in my stash, and I hadn't used it before. I didn't have any embellishments. I just had the papers. So I think I just had the papers. This looks like an embellishment, but I'm not sure where I got that from. But in any case, I cut this out of the paper, and I added some pearls to the butterflies to make them not look just like, cut out butterflies. I wanted there to be some other texture to the page other than just paper. And I used some pearls from my stash. And oh, I know, this was another chipboard collection. At the end, I wanted to find some other embellishments, and I had another collection that I thought some of the colors matched with these colors. And this was a fun one to make. I got to use my hexagon punch. This layout was day 11. This is paper scraps. So I used the Hello Gorgeous collection again, the My Mind's Eye older collection. And I have a lot of scraps in that envelope where I keep that collection because I use it so much and I've used it for so many years. So I took out the scraps, and some of them were larger, some of them were smaller, but I cut them mainly into 1/2-inch pieces. Some of the pieces are a little bit larger just to add a little bit of interest, but for the most part, they were 1/2 inch. I distressed them, and you can see my pictures in the middle, and I do have some embellishments for that, so I added a couple of the embellishments, and you'll see I use these floral die cuts. If you see my layouts, I do use those quite a bit. I have a stash of them, and I just replenish it now and then, and I draw from it on a regular basis. So I added some leaves in and some buttons. I tried to use some buttons from my stash. I feel like I have so many buttons, and they never seem to make it onto a page, so I was happy to use some of those. And I did do some fussy cutting of some flowers, or these flowers and these flowers. There's a few around the page, and some of them are chipboard. This one was for day 12. This was large circle, and for this one I used, I believe it was the Carta Bella Beach Day collection, another collection I like very much. And instead of using watercolor sprays, which I often do, it's kind of like my go-to technique, I put some of the white gesso behind where I knew the little slices were going to be, the little triangles, and I liked the way that looked, but I also wanted to add a little bit more color, so then I just went in with some acrylic paints and splattered those around. And to make this, I first cut a cardstock circle, and I cut it into little slices. I wanted to make the slices different sizes. I didn't want them all to be the same size. And then once I did that, then I cut these out from that pattern that I made, because I didn't want to just wing it and not have everything fit together well. And I used the chipboard that came with it, some enamel dots, and some of the borders to go along this side. This layout, this was for a sketch. They provided a sketch. This was day 14. There was a day 13 sketch, prompt family, but I don't have that layout here right now. It's not quite finished. I'll be showing that in my next share. But this one was a sketch that was provided, so I followed the sketch pretty closely, and I used a basic gray Wander collection. And it's so nice to use a sketch that seems to work with your photos, and I feel like this was pretty quick. And when I say pretty quick, I scrapbook very, very slowly. So quick for me is probably not quick for somebody else, but this was a time when we were across the river from Manhattan, and we've passed one of those stops where you can go in and, stop your car, and it's a scenic stop. There's nothing there. There's no, it's not like a rest stop or whatever where there's, food and drink, but we pulled off, and it's funny, we've passed it hundreds and hundreds of times and we never stopped. So we decided to stop and see what Manhattan, how the Manhattan skyline looked that day. And we used the telescopes, and it was just a nice little stop. This one was for pattern paper, and I thought this was just such a beautiful pattern paper. I used my creative scrapbook, the one of the papers that was in there, and I was just really dying to use it, so I used it along with the embellishments that were provided in the kit. I think pretty much everything from this page was from the My Creative Scrapbook kit. And I get the limited edition kit because it's a lot of mixed media, and I really love mixed media, so I really had fun with that one. And there will be a process video for this one when I can edit it. This one was for day 16, and this one was also made for the Paper Passion Posh Etsy shop, and I absolutely fell in love with this cut file. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I had to kind of think for a long time what to do with it because I thought it was so beautiful, and I just wanted to think about what the correct or what the best use for this would be. So I finally was thinking how the swirls in here are kind of mimicking the waves in the ocean, and then I used this piece of paper. I recently bought this piece of paper and it was on my desk, so I combined that with some texture paste. I used this diagonal, a diamond shaped stencil, and I also used another stencil. The gold here was texture paste, gold texture paste that I put through a stencil. I don't even know if you could see it, but I thought that added a nice little touch to the background. I used some white splatters, and when I put the cut file on there, I thought it looked pretty, but it was too stark white against the background, so I just went in there with some of the colors, the blue and this gold color that were in the papers that I was using. This is an old K & Company Tim Coffee Beach collection, and I used some of the embellishments, and then I just tried to highlight the beauty of the cut file with some pearls. And I was pretty happy with this one because I just think the cut file is just so beautiful. This layout was made for the day 18 prompt of Scraptember multi-photo, and I use the Pink Fresh Studio Everyday Musings collection to make this one. I also used a sketch from scraphappy.org. This is this month's sketch, and I had to change the sketch a little bit because I have larger photos than the sketch called for, but I thought that that sketch was the perfect inspiration for these photos. This layout was made for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club. They are having a bunch of challenges over on the Facebook group this weekend, and I'm a really slow scrapper, so it's hard for me to do a lot of pages all at once, but that's okay. I'm just going to take part in the ones that appeal to me and have fun with it. This layout was made using the K & Company Handmade collection. Most of the items on the page are from that collection. I also used a sketch again from the Scrap Happy website. I used August's sketch, and I love the way there's a really large area to put journaling, and I feel like I can put all the journaling or most of the journaling for this event on this page, and then I don't have to put so much journaling on the other pages because I do struggle with journaling. For this page, we had to use puffy stickers. So I have puffy stickers here and here. And we also had to use sequins. And I was really happy to be challenged to use sequins because I have a lot in my stash, like most of us, but I don't always pull them out to use. And this was a fun page to create. I liked creating that one. This is another page that I created for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club challenges. And I used a Bow Bunny collection called Dreams of Autumn, and I really love the colors in this one. And for this challenge, we had to use gold and blue. We also had to use something small, the word sweet, and we got to pick an embellishment that we liked, and my favorite embellishments are brads and these buttons with the epoxy centers. So I had both that matched, so I put them both on the page. And then finally, I created this layout for the Scrapbooking for Newbies Facebook group. And the challenge for this one was to not use a title. So I don't know if you would consider this a title, but I had this 2019 sticker with the graduation cap on it, and I knew I had to use this for my daughter's graduation album, and I'm approaching completing all of the graduation pictures, so I really wanted to use this sticker, but I thought it was perfect because it's not truly a title, but it served as kind of holding the place of a title. So I used a lot of graduation items that were in my stash, and I use these stars. Those are from Dollar Tree. I used this banner. This was a die cut that I just cut twice and then slightly offset it. And I used these die cut leaves that I had in my stash as well. Well, thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed my layout chair, and I hope that you saw something today that will inspire you to create a scrapbook page or anything that you like. And I want to thank you so much for liking and for subscribing and for all your comments. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.